person, some being, something.
He will use casts of the cripple foot tracks and a skeletal reconstruction made by Dr. Meldrum to determine the authenticity of the tracks.
Orthopedics and exams of the feet and ankles, there have been improvements in the last 10, 15 years that allow us to look closer at the biomechanics, the imprint of a foot in the human patient.
Dr. Howe will analyze the gait and spacing of the crippled foot tracks. He will pay close attention to the imprints of the deformed right foot to see if it could be any known medical condition.
The main thing about humans is that we're bipedal, that we walk on 2 legs instead of 4, and that has had a dramatic impact on the structure of our bodies.
David Began, a paleoanthropologist, is skeptical. He's looking for human characteristics in the Patterson film.
This individual, you can see he's walking just like a person walks, 1 foot at a time. It's comfortable in daytime. It's not alarmed by the presence of horses and humans. Now, if all of that is true, then you would think that we would have run into these more frequently than we have. The knees are almost fully extended. At the knee joint, the leg is completely straight, or almost completely straight. That's what you see in modern humans. It's much more of a bent-kneed gait, we call it, when you look at chimpanzees. He's also got a very, very vertical posture to his back. It's leaning a little bit forward, but it's not leaning in the way that you would expect, that you would see when you're looking at non-human primates walking bipedally. It's too human-like to be anything other than a human, in my opinion.
Bill Munns doesn't agree with Began's assessment that the creature in the film is human. He has studied it frame by frame, and the way the fur moves on the figure convinces him that this is no costume.
Back in 1967, we didn't have any type of stretch fur technology, which became available in the early 80s. The stretch fur technology would have enabled a lot of what we see on the film to be possible. The old standard non-stretch furs of the time, however, behaved very, very much like ordinary cloth in the way they fold, the way they bend, the way you structure seams. And if we look at the Patterson film, there's a lot of subtle curvatures in the body that are apparent by the highlights and shadows that suggest that either it was masterfully tailored or it's simply not fur cloth at all. That's what basically prompted me to continue to have doubts about whether or not we're seeing simply a character suit in that particular film.
Munns uses an overlay technique that allows him to assess the possibility that it's a costume.
Now, what's interesting about it is that this has been done in the past by other people. But if they do not have certain criteria correct in the beginning, then the comparison is false.
He poses a human figure over each frame of the film, using precise measurements from the photogrammetry model of Bluff Creek.
Rehearsal shot right now?
Yeah, as soon as I get in position, I'll just tell you go for it. Okay, going.
Munns and the team use the same camera model and lens as that used by Patterson to film the creature.
Are we ready?
Okay, Matt, go.
They also use a high-definition video camera to film the sequence. They are testing to see if motion blur in the older camera could account for the shape of the beast's head. They then compare the film from each camera.
Then we're getting into the point where it may be very simple reality that there may not be a human on the face of the earth who has the proportions and height necessary to be this creature.
Monster Quest is putting critical evidence of the existence of Sasquatch under the microscope. The compiled data is impressive. The most famous and longest film of the beast. The most controversial footage ever recorded. A map of all the eyewitness accounts in the last 40 years. The most extensive collection of tracks ever collected. The science team is examining what is referred to as the cripple foot track. Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Dr. David Howe are examining a cast of the tracks.
My feeling is in this mold of the cripple foot that there very well could have been a Liz Frank injury across here. And obviously, if this is somebody out in the wild, doesn't have treatment, which we wouldn't expect, the residual deformity could heal over in this direction.
The Liz-Frank injury is a dislocation or fracture between the forefoot and the midfoot joints, commonly caused by trauma.
I think it'd be very difficult to come up with the knowledge and the ability to hoax this type of a footprint. There's quite a bit of evidence out there that points favorably towards the real thing.
The probability of this being a hoax is almost non-existent.
Jeff Sedlick, a forensic photography expert, is wrapping up his analysis of the Patterson film footage. Using image enhancement technology, he has brought the film to its best possible resolution after weeks of frame-by-frame work.
At a certain point, the subject turns toward us, and we get a great frontal view of the face, the body, and the arms at full swing. And if we zoom in on this frame, which is very out of focus because of the camera shake and the movement of the subject and the level of enlargement, we get to see some details. And as we sharpen it, we see this subject has breasts that are clearly visible. We see the subject has what appears to be a beard or hair across the front of the face, and some sort of wig or what appears to be a helmet covered with hair at the top. And we can see the eyes and the nose of the subject right there. And that could be either a mask with holes in it, or it could be a face.
Whether or not that subject is a human in a suit or is some kind of creature that is not human remains a mystery.
Bill Munns believes the animal is real. He has examined the film from the unique point of view of a Hollywood creature creator. Using the technology available in 1967, Munns has built and filmed 5 possible head shapes to see if motion blur accounts for the head shape of the creature. He then filmed the heads in a similar motion to the creature in the Patterson film. Finally, he superimposed the heads over the footage. He determines the most likely mask shape. Munns has concluded that it cannot be a human in a mask unless the wearer's head is buried deep inside the suit, making it impossible for the wearer to see. He is also unable to get a human figure to fit within the proportions of the image captured in the film.
Nothing in the Patterson film that gives any indication at all that any of the joints of the body, the shoulder, hip, pelvis, knees, elbows and such, that none of these have been shifted in any way. We see that the knee discrepancy here is tremendous. The knees are so much higher than the knees here. The back of the knee to the back of this particular knee. We could say with confidence a person of this human proportion absolutely could not be wearing a suit and look like what we see in the film. The only thing I can say with genuine confidence is that is not a human being in a fur costume. What it truthfully is, I am mystified by, but it is not a human being in a costume.
The Monster Quest team has made some crucial determinations regarding the Sasquatch evidence. The science team has determined that the cripplefoot tracks are not human in nature and have not been faked. Analysis of casts of other Sasquatch tracks reveals the presence of a mid-tarsal break, meaning they were likely made by a large primate. The team uncovered a likely mistake in earlier analysis of the famed Patterson film shot in 1967. A new analysis, taking the correct lens parameters into account, proves the creature to be of larger size than that of a human. This makes it unlikely that it could have been hoaxed with someone wearing a suit.
A lot of people like me hope that there is a Bigfoot because it would be extremely exciting if there were a primate, a large primate like this that we didn't know about living in our midst. So we don't have anything against the idea of Bigfoot. And we even have fossils that tell us that there was something this size that existed only a few 100,000 years ago.
the more we're able to analyze these videos and images of Sasquatch, the more answers we can give people. And there certainly are a lot of questions out there, more than have ever been answered.
I think this realization is a very exciting breakthrough.